afternoon, lovelies, it's Nan Loves It, and I'm here today to talk to you about something a little different. We're gonna do my top 5 finance books, personal finance books for 2021. So some of you may or may not know, I've been on this kind of whole personal finance way for about 2 years properly. I think I might have dabbled in it before I even knew the term personal finance. You know, growing up as a teenager. Just for some background, I grew up in a low income family. I'm from the UK. I grew up on benefits, like that's that. And it's not because like my parents were not well educated or anything like that. It's just extenuating circumstances. And well, basically I grew up on the breadline, and I've always had to be quite financially conscious, and I feel like my parents really did instill me with good financial literacy from the jump. So basically I didn't stand a chance. Like, I had to know about money as soon as it really was accessible to me. So I've been on my personal finance journey for about 2 years now, properly. I've made some mistakes, I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, and I've made some good decisions as well. But I thought I would start with some of the best guides really that I've come across in my very short journey, and how that's kind of helped me in terms of my personal finance journey. So let's go. Just a little disclaimer before I start. Before I got into the world of personal finance, excuse me. Before I got into the world of personal finance, I came to realise very quickly that it was very much US led. The language was very US. We were talking about financial terms that I was really struggling to kind of have an understanding with, because in the UK we call it something different. So I've tried my hardest to kind of help others kind of bypass that whole sort of like US fixation, and kind of concentrate on a few UK books as well. So yeah, I've tried to I've tried to focus on the UK basically. That I just think it would have been really helpful had someone just given me like UK focused information. There's some things in the US that are really good and are applicable, and there are some things that just aren't. The first book that I'm going to recommend is this book. It's Finance by Warner and Hussein. I hope I've pronounced that right. And this is a really great book for many reasons. First and foremost, just a disclaimer, with this book, it is about finance for like the whole industry. Like, think about finance as a generic term as opposed to like personal finance and savings. And how this book has really helped me is that it's helped me kind of like break down. It's been like a glossary basically of all financial terms, like, because there are so many and you can get so confused. And I really feel that this has like been really good at putting terms I don't understand into layman terms. So for example, things like dividends, equities, those sorts of terms that used to like go completely above my head. This book was so good at helping me kind of get a really good understanding of it. And if you can, like, I'll just flick to a random page. It's really it clearly describes like impairment. Like, what the is that? It kind of reminds me of like a school textbook. Which may be a good or a bad thing, but it's been really good at helping me understand the financial sector. There used to be terms that used to go completely over my head, even things like the FTSE 100, S&P 500, like these things used to be like, you might as well be speaking gobbledygook to me because I was not understanding. But that book was just phenomenal as help breaking down some of those financial terms. So as a baseline, I would really recommend this book just to get your head around some of the technical terms. Also, I think this book is really good for anyone who's starting a business and they want to understand how the finance of business works. This is a great book. There's a lot of the stuff that I wasn't able to like apply to my personal life, like external financial auditing and insolvency and like bruh. But had I ever decided to start my own business, I think this would just, honestly, this would be my go-to. Things like liquidity, profits, the forecasting, ratios, all that technical stuff, this is your guy. Okay, so this is a bit of a special one. So number 4 on my top 5 would be this book, which is in plastic because it is so difficult to source. It took me a good 7 months to source this book in good condition. So I'm not going to take it out of the plastic. It's Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth by Nick Murray. And this book is staying in the plastic, first and foremost. Now, this book is really good about discussing monetary ethics, like the ethics of money and the ethics and the values of money. This book is like really good at checking your relationship with money. That's all I can say. If you need a relationship check with money, read this book, because it's really, really thought-provoking, and it really, really helped me to change the way that I thought about money and my relationship with money and how money can be used as a vehicle. And I know there's a saying that money is the root of all evil, and I can totally understand why that is a thing given the current state of the world. But I think our relationship with money is actually what makes it a good thing or a bad thing. And this book, I'm so glad. Who recommended me this book? Pete Matthew from Meaningful Money, his podcast, whatever his podcast is. Thank you so much, Pete, because best believe me, I spent like the best part of like nearly 7 months trying to get this book, and when I finally did get it, I read it once, and once was enough. And I really do feel like the advice that's in this book it's transgenerational. This is very much a book that is for keeps. You do not give it away. This is something that you hand down from generation to generation. Super accessible. Is more geared to the US market, I will say that. There's a lot about retirement specifically about this book, and some of the percentages may not corroborate outside of the US just because, you know, depending on your country of origin and how expensive things are. But in terms of future wealth planning, you've gone from money to wealth and having a wealth mindset. This book is just, I couldn't rank it any higher just because I've only read it once. 2, I'm very precious over it, so I don't like, look how, if you saw how clean this book is, it's not a book that I feel confident going to all the time just because of how long it took me to source it. But in terms of the lessons that I learned, this was phenomenal, and I'd recommend it. Just, if you can get your hands on it, just get it. Book number 3. When I started my personal finance journey formally, and I was going into different forums and I was looking and seeing what other people were reading, this book was the book that was recommended to me. So this is Sparta Investing by Hale. And this book was particularly really helpful for me when I started investing, because a girl was scared. I was scared. I was so scared of investing. Even though I don't have loads of money, the idea of losing £10, £20 used to scare me. I'm so glad I'm not in that place anymore. But this was a book that everyone told me to get. This was like the holy grail of British investing. Initially I was like, but actually, if we're talking about an investment specific book for the UK market, I think this is as good as it gets, and I'll tell you why. What this book allowed me to do is to get me thinking about the type of investor that I wanted to be. Was I a person who is super risk adverse, would hate to lose a pound? Am I a person that's willing to gamble big with hope for big rewards, or am I somewhere in the middle? And actually, you know, taking me through step by step to actually build a budget and build a plan in terms of my investment strategy, depending on how risk averse I was. So in terms of hand holding, like, I also think this book is really good at helping you think about what sort of investment portfolio you want. And I'm not going to start speaking outside my backside now, because I'm not, you know, I should have probably put a disclaimer, like, I'm not here to give professional advice. This is just a book recommendation. But if you wanted to start thinking about what you wanted, what sort of assets you wanted within your portfolio, this book will take you through option by option. And I feel like it was such a lifesaver, because I used to YouTube, you know, investing for beginners, and everything just seemed to be so super US based. And I think, like, to have a book that is about investing, that is UK orientated or UK centered, was just like literally a lifesaver. Another great thing about this book is that it does speak about retirement, and does speak about like your financial goals for the future with retirement in mind, and it's UK centered, so we don't have to go on the kind of US estimations of how much you need to retire. It will help you step by step to formulate an investment plan and portfolio so that you're able to retire at whatever age that you want, preferably 30. If you don't feel like invested in the full book, if you can just get an insert for the 20 tips for smarter investing in this book, that will be all you need. I'm telling you. Go into Waterstones, go and look for a PDF online. If you can just get that bit, that 20 steps for smarter investing, you're halfway there. So I really like this book. See, only I can get like sentimental over investment books. Okay, so this is book number 3, book number 2. Well deserved as well. This is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. I love this book. Again, it's US centric, yes. J.L. Collins, I think he runs did run a super duper successful financial platform or blog or some sort of platform. Anyway, I've heard him speak numerous times on various podcasts, and I thought, you know what? All these US people keep talking about J.L. Collins and this book, so I just bought it. And can I just say, in terms of like accessibility and actually understanding why you want to go down the personal finance or route, or why personal finance is important, like, this was just an absolute joy to read. Like, it was the first finance book that I felt like I can read this beginning to end. Like, this is so accessible, super easy read, really encouraging. Like, I just love this book. I just love it. One of the things that I really love about this book, and I think that this was his preferred way of investing, but I'm not sure, don't quote me, is that it really gave a good explanation as to why index funds are a good way of investing. And that is my preferred investment method, and that's why investing long term in index funds, because that's the sort of person I am. But this really gave me kind of confidence that that was the right method for me, specifically. And there's a lot of personal experience in here that I really appreciate as well. What I will say about this book is I do feel that it is sort of biased towards index funds and that way of investing. It doesn't talk about things like cryptocurrencies much. It doesn't talk about it talks about stock options and picking stocks and the pros and cons of that and the risks attached to that. But I do feel like if you are a person that very much wants a very valued portfolio, or maybe you're interested in different methods of investing, not so much for you. But it was a joy to read, and I really enjoyed it. And actually, I wish that this was the first book that I read, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is a great book. Definitely deserves number 2 spot. Oh my gosh. Okay, so my number 1 book. If there's anything, if you're watching and you're from the UK, and you're brand new to learning about your money, learning about how it works, learning about savings, learning about personal finance, thinking about fire, any of those things, please start here. This is the Meaningful Money Handbook by Pete Matthew. When I tell you, I found this book too late. I wish, okay, there's two things. The Simple Path to Wealth is great for reading, but like front to back, getting you feel good about investing, making you feel like you are heading in the right direction. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The Meaningful Money Handbook is idiot proof. It's like, you would have to be incredibly dense not to understand it. I feel like it was written for ultimate beginners, and more importantly, it is UK focused. Ugh. So all the language is geared to the UK, all like just everything is geared to the UK. Oh my goodness, I feel like, I know Christmas is just gone, but this would have been the best gift that you could have given someone who's trying to get out of debt, because it speaks a lot about that as well. This book has to be #1 on my list simply because it's an all-rounder. It gives you your investment options, it gives you your glossary or financial terms, it gives you motivation, it gives you an idiot-proof guide to getting out of debt, it gives you that very sort of basic level of investing. It just gives you, like, I feel like you can give this to an 18 or 19-year-old and for them to get it, and I feel like you can give this to like an 80-year-old and for them to still get it. It is just so brilliantly written. And actually, if you don't feel like investing in the book, what I will say is Pete does a really good podcast. I think it's called the Meaningful Money Podcast. I'll be sure to link it below. But if you are starting to think about getting into personal finance, that is a brilliant first place to start. Anyway guys, that's it for me this week. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.